Dionne Ellison. I am the founder and creator of Vuliwear. Vuliwear is an elevated line of luxury eyewear that's inspired by nature. You purchase eyewear based on frame instead of the lens, which is the first thing you see when someone's wearing it. And so I'm a think outside the box kind of girl. Vuliwear is a brand that's not just about fashion, it's about function, and it's about protection. My name is Dionne Ellison. I am the founder and creator of Vuliwear. Vuliwear is an elevated line of luxury eyewear that's inspired by nature. I'm here because I am a member of Entrepreneurial, which is a women's community group that is working with and is a vendor here at the Alibaba.com co-creator. And so we were selected to be featured in the Meet the Creator. Our brand was featured with 3 other Entrepreneurial brands. And so we'll be doing a panel discussion tomorrow, and it's just been a great experience. The vendors, the suppliers, the sources, is really a great way to connect entrepreneurs with suppliers for their finished product. So you truly are creative here and you're working with others. So I got into entrepreneurship, probably it's in my DNA. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs. And so I've always wanted to have my own business. Vuliwear was one of those things I kind of stumbled on. I happened to be searching the internet, and I saw this macro photography with these beautiful insects. And the first thing that came to mind were sunglasses, and it was very interesting to me that we purchase eyewear based on frame instead of the lens, which is the first thing you see when someone is wearing it. And so I'm a think outside the box kind of girl, and so I wanted to know how I could start my own eyewear brand. And so I did the work, I did the research, and I found my manufacturers, and it's been a journey. We launched on June 27th, 2017, which is also National Sunglasses Day. And so for me, I wanted everything about the brand to be authentic, from the name to our lenses. And so Vuli, V-L-I, actually means shade in Swahili. And so for me, this is more than just a business. This is an opportunity for me to be a generational wealth in the family. My son is very instrumental in marketing. My sister also plays a part in doing sketches, and my other sister styles me. So there's a lot of family that's involved in this process. I use Alibaba specifically for our packaging, for our product boxes, because it's all about the experience from beginning to end. When you are putting together and you are creating a brand, you want it to speak to the person. You want to be memorable. And so I feel like Vuliwear is a disruptor in the eyewear business, because we're actually changing the way we think about eyewear. All right. So this is a passion project for me because I had cataract surgery actually a week and a half ago. And so my doctor really emphasized for me the importance of taking care of our eyes. And so we think about UV damage when it comes to our skin and our hair, but rarely do we really think about it when it comes to our eyes. And so Vuliwear is a brand that's not just about fashion, it's about function, and it's about protection. And so you can have both. You don't have to compromise the fashion and the function. You can have both in Vuliwear. And lastly, I wanted the brand to globally speak to the world by a portion of our sales goes to United Malaria, which is a UN foundation, and they send treated bed nets and life-saving supplies to families in Sub-Saharan and in Africa. So with Vuliwear, not only do you look good, you actually feel good, and you're saving lives. You know, we lost a lot. I feel like as an African-American woman, it's important that, and as a mom, it's important that we maintain as much of our heritage and as much of our culture as we possibly can. And I wanted a brand that actually had meaning. I wanted everything to have some meaning in why I'm doing this and taking this brand journey, especially in eyewear, because it's one of those things, there's not a lot of Black, specifically, and Black women in the industry. So I wanted to make sure we made an impact. And Vuli, I had a couple names that we came up with, but that was one that kind of rolled off the tongue. It was easy to remember. And of course, because the meaning is shade and autumn, you know, in Swahili, I thought it was a perfect combination. Actually, our bag, we're introducing a crossbody bag this holiday season. And so my son Noah is the inspiration for it. And so that is actually called the Viva bag, because Viva, B-E, is carried in front. So my journey is a little unique in that I started this brand and I actually acquired investors before we launched. So for me, it was, I had to find manufacturers for the lenses. I wanted to design my frames, so I had to find frame manufacturers. That took some time, but it's a process. You just kind of keep going. You just have to keep researching, doing the information until you find what you need. Our frames are metal. And so that was a little different than an acetate frame. So finding a frame manufacturer that could actually create the lens, a frame for us, and then finding a lens for us, it was very challenging. Back when I started this project probably about 2015 and 2016, and at that time they were just doing mirror coatings across the whole lens. They weren't doing specific designs or stencil on a lens. So I had to find a manufacturer that did it. And Essilor Sun Solution is actually one of the first manufacturers to do our lenses. And then from there, I figured I had to launch. You kind of just have to do it. Sometimes, once you have the plan, I got the samples. I would say that anybody that is looking to start, just begin to plan it out. Continue to make some momentum daily, one step at a time. I got my samples. At the time, I was working for an insurance company, and I was very fortunate. My boss saw what I was doing. He read my business plan, and he liked it. He was like, "This is great. I don't know anything about fashion, but I know your work ethic." He's like, "And I think it's a great product." And I got my first investor. He then told 2 other coworkers, and they also listened. So before I even launched, I was very fortunate and blessed to have investment of $60,000. And then so from there, you have to market, right? We launched on June 27th. You do what you know, right? And you try to follow your business plan. And it's not always going to be right because it can be very frustrating. We launched, the internet back in 2017 is nothing like it is today. With influencers and all of the, selfies and all of the things that are going on. So you just kind of have to try different things. I like collaborations. I feel like collaborations are one of the best ways to get your message and to get your brand out. By collaborating with Vuliwear, collaborating with Entrepreneurial, collaborating with fashion stylists. They're the ones that place product on celebrities, get your product out there. So we were very blessed to have, in the first 4 months of launching, I was working with a stylist that actually got my sunglasses on Future, the rapper. And he was on the cover of Booster magazine, right? So those kinds of relationships are what will help you through the journey. And keeping your authenticity and just being true to yourself and true to your brand, I think is where what will take you and help you to be successful. When I got those 3 investors, that was my first lesson, that people invest in people and not things. So being a good person is fantastic, and people see that. Being consistent is also really important. And my father used to always tell me that if you're watching you and you're not watching yourself, it's how you carry yourself. Those are all of the things that encompass you and your brand. Because initially when you're starting out, you are the brand. You're the one that has to come out and talk about the brand. So all of those things are very good. Prototypes. When I got my first prototype, they didn't quite get the lens right. They didn't get the design right. They didn't get the measurements. We actually had to send them measurements. My sister is an artist. She would sketch out the actual design for the lens. And you send them measurements, but there's no guarantee it's going to come back exactly. So sometimes there is some trial and error. But if you find a good manufacturer that believes in you and is also willing to work with you, you can finally get the product and the sample that you're looking for. I think we did 2 tries and we got our lenses the first time right. My frame manufacturer, he got it right off the bat, so that was really easy. And so then you have to try to coordinate the whole process. Lenses are created here, here, frames are created here, I've got to get the lenses to the manufacturer so they can get cut, and then they come to me. So it's a process. So, you have to have good time management and you have to understand, the needs and timing, because there's a 6-week production, both to paint the lenses, to create the frame manufacturers. So you have to incorporate that all into your planning so that when you get your product, you are ready to go and you're ready to sell. When I made my first sale, it's been a minute, but I believe I made my first sale to family, which most usually do. When you have a supportive family, there's the best. It's the best thing you can have to know that your family is behind what you're doing. And when I first got my first customer that was just kind of one of those that advertised, it was amazing. The fact that someone actually values your product, something that you created basically from scratch, and sees the value and enough to make a purchase, it's an unbelievable feeling. So it's well worth all of the the ups and downs and all of those things that you go through just to get the finished product. So it was wonderful. I can't speak anymore. And every sale is actually wonderful, from the first to the last. Every sale is wonderful, because what it truly is a sign that people actually believe in what you're doing. So sales and marketing is one of my first lessons, and what I'll say today. I've done a lot of great things with Vuliwear. One of the things that I would say that I did not really put enough emphasis on was the sales and marketing. A lot of times we think, oh, if I built it, they will come. Well, it's true, but not really. And so taking the time to actually do the market research and to find out who your customer is, because depending on what it is that you're selling, you have to know exactly what it is that the customer wants. Because if you think the product's great, doesn't mean that the customers necessarily want to think the product's great. So taking the time to do that research will save you in the long run, and make things a lot easier, because it helps you understand your brand more, and it also helps you understand what your customer wants and what they're thinking. So because we were doing something that was totally different, again, Vuliwear is about the lens, right? Not about the frame. Most people are used to purchasing sunglasses based on the frame. And so it was really important for me to try to get information to see what it is they want. So I did surveys. In the very beginning, I did a lot of surveys. And I would just ask general questions. What's the price point? What kind of frames do they like? Even down to what shape do they like? And so as you gather that information, it helps you begin to formulate how you market. And so I don't want to say it's trial and error, but a lot of it is just a lot of information gathering and taking that information and making it work to your benefit. So the systems, let's see, the systems that I use right now, social media has just taken, I feel like it is the end all be all right now. Marketing is not, the magazines, we don't buy magazines like we used to. So everything is at our fingertips, right? And attention spans are really short. So you have to capture people within the first 3 seconds, ultimately. When I first started out, social media wasn't what, you had micro influencers, you had people that weren't really that well versed as far as being an influencer and didn't really understand the conversion rate, because likes don't always convert and turn into sales. And so early on, I feel like I was just trying different things, seeing who really had an influence, who really didn't have an influence, and who got likes. So that has changed. And now fast forward to 2025, everything is about AI. And so using AI as a tool, it helps you to get information a lot quicker. It also helps you figure out how to word a lot of your content. Sometimes, marketing, it's all about not necessarily what you're saying, but how you're saying it. And so AI and ChatGPT, all of those types of those apps, they help you formulate and articulate what it is you want to say about your brand in different ways, right? While staying true to your brand and at the ethos of your brand. So I would say, other than the manufacturing piece, I believe stays for the most part the same. I did have to go through 2 manufacturers for our lenses. because again, they want minimum quantities. So that's some of the other stuff that I feel like nobody really talks about when you start. When you start your business, sometimes you may not be reaching the MOQ, the minimum quantity, because if you're not doing the sales, you obviously can't repurchase. So it's those ups and downs that you kind of have to try to repair as much as possible. And so if you can find tools, project management tools, calendaring, even with social media, when you're doing your posts, using those calendaring tools. I know a lot of people that use them. I myself like to do my posts manually because I might wake up one day and feel a certain kind of way, and I want to say something very specific about that day. So for me, I like to do it myself. I try to be very hands-on with the messaging, and especially in the very beginning, because you want to stay consistent. I manage my inventory myself. My inventory is in my basement right now. And so I go in and I keep track via Shopify. We have a Shopify store. So the numbers that I plug in there, thankfully, that does track the inventory as the sales come in. But right now I do my inventory. I do from beginning to end. I come from the manufacturer. I sit down. I open up every case. I open up every ring. Look at them. I do all of that. Quality check. All of that is done myself. So as we expand and as we scale, I'll be able to hire. I use QuickBooks as a tool. QuickBooks is very good because it helps you with taxes, it helps you with everything, it helps you with your spending. So QuickBooks is definitely a really great tool to use, especially when you're first starting out. And if you're don't have an account right there that you're sending, you can track the information yourself very easily. It's very intuitive. I'm trying to think what applications that I use other than QuickBooks right now. I think that's probably one of as far as inventory is concerned, as far as keeping track of financially what I'm spending. I switched over I had a WordPress website, and so we switched over earlier in 2025 to a Shopify e-commerce store. And I like Shopify because it's very easy. They have a lot of different apps that help you with from keeping inventory to email flows. Because what I find is that there are everybody thinks that you have to do a lot of ads. I think there are other ways that you can also reach your customer. People still read emails, believe it or not. And if your emails are compelling, they use an app through Shopify that's called OmniSend. And that actually has a whole workflow. So someone first comes to our site and they hit they hit the pop-up that comes in. They sign in and subscribe to us. Then that triggers another introductory email. So it's very automated. You just have to kind of plug in the information, and then the system does it yourself. So I'm really excited about the brand scaling into lifestyle. We have designed a men's crossbody bag that has a patent pending design in the interior. It has a protective space for your sunglasses, for your wallet, and for other essentials, and then for men on the go. So my son Noah is the brainchild of the design, and he can tell you a little bit about it because he carries it every day.